sudden. I guess everyone was told it is time to get this party started. Yeah, come on in, everybody. Find yourself a seat, and we will get the festivities underway. Wow, first of all, how great to see a room full of people. I know we haven't been able to do this for quite a while, so welcome everybody. It's good to be here in person. Yeah, so officially, I guess, welcome to the Future of Sport Lab Pitch Demo Day. My name is Christine Simpson, and I'm a reporter with Sportsnet and Hockey Night in Canada. Now, my day job is usually interviewing hockey players where, I ask them about their penalty kill and power play, and they usually tell me all about how they're going to give 110% and play a full 60 minutes on their way to winning a Stanley Cup. I guarantee you today, we're not going to hear any cliches at all, are we? Are we? We're going to hear from some great Canadian startups with their pitches. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I do want to start by acknowledging the land on which we're gathering today. Toronto is in the dish with one spoon territory. The dish with one spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. I would like to, first to get this party started, introduce a dear friend of mine to talk about the Future Sport Lab program. He is the chair of the FSL, Mr. Brian Cooper. Brian?
Thanks, Chris. So I'm going to give you 110% right now. First of all, thank you everybody for attending. It's been 2.5 years since I've been at anything live with FSL. This is a great collaboration of some leading organizations. When you look at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, when you look at TMU, specifically the Ted Rogers School of Management, when you look at DMZ, world-leading technology incubator, they provide tremendous value and impact on the startups that go through this program. If you look back on the first 2 cohorts that we had, they've raised over $55 million to date. It shows that the people that go through this program go on to much greater success and that we've been part of it. There are a lot of people that make this success, and I want to briefly thank them, and you don't want to hear too much more from me because I can go on. But to the people at MLSNE, Suman Arora, Hamza Tarani, Connor King, thank you very much. To Dr. Sherry Bradish and Katie, thank you so much for the efforts that you guys have put in. DMZ, Abdullah Snowbar, Naveed Targi, thank you very much. Without your support, this would not happen. To the mentors and advisors that work with these startups, that provide their network and introductions and experience, I want to thank you as well. It is not just going through this program that we allow these startups to go on to great success. It's the people that they meet along the way, the experiences that those people can share with them that really help them get to the next level of success. So again, thank you all, and I look forward to a great afternoon.
Brian, you were supposed to introduce me. No, I'm joking. This is why, but I'm Abdullah. But I gotta tell you, my biggest aha moment coming back into real life events is seeing how tall or how short people are. You can probably imagine in my world, it's usually people are taller because I'm as short as it usually gets. So I was telling Brian earlier today, I'm shocked at how tall you are because on calls, you don't really know. We brought on somebody from the DMZ not too long ago. When she saw me in this space, she looked at me, she's like, wow, you're really short. I'm like, what a way to talk to the new boss in this space, right? But it is what it is. In any event, it's great to be here with you all today. And I'm not gonna repeat a lot of the things that Brian mentioned, but I also wanna give a quick and a big shout out to Brian for really bringing all these things together. In many cases, I call him the glue that really kind of made all this possible and allowed it to kind of function the way that it did. So Brian, a big thanks to you for all your efforts and all your time, energy, and love to the space. So thank you. I'd be crazy to come up here and not thank the face of it all, Sherry. So Sherry and I have gone a ways back, and she has been incredible in everything that she's done. And I always say, if you want something done, go to Sherry. You don't know how she'll do it, but she'll figure out a way. And honestly, I mean those, and I mean those words, because she is truly a person that has been able to showcase her leadership in many different respects and bring different groups together from different disciplines and different communities and make really cool things happen. But beyond that, she's also a pioneer in the sports business industry. And she's committed to being able to innovate in the field and ensuring that women are always included in the conversation as well. So Sherry, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're awesome, and we wouldn't want anybody else here other than you. I know. The notes are here, but I'm also just skimming through it, I promise. So I won't get into the DMZ too much, but I think for those of you that don't know the DMZ, we are a technology incubator headquartered in Toronto with operations in over 10 different countries around the world, everywhere from Japan to India to Vietnam to some of the more sunnier spot or more beachy spots, including Bermuda, Jamaica, Bahamas, Barbados, and Trinidad and Tobago, and even closer to home, Niagara Falls and Innisfil. So we have operations all around, and our mission in life is really to help change entrepreneurs' lives by helping them connect to the right partners, the right industry, access to venture capital, and be able to get the right mentorship and coaching that they need at the time that they actually need it. So we are fully committed to the founder's success. Our three values really represent what I just said. First and foremost, it's equity over everything. Second is founders first. And third, one of my favorites, is just be great. Very general theme, but a way that we all like to live by. And a lot of people in the sports industry can certainly relate to that. So that's all for the DMZ side. But this is really exciting for us, and I think we've seen a huge increase in momentum on the sports side of things within the country, from the Raptors taking the championship in 2019. We're hoping this happens again at some point in my life, at least. But it's been obviously an exciting part that brought the whole country together. To Team Canada making it to the World Cup for FIFA after 36 years of not being able to get in. I won't talk about the Leafs. I'll leave that one for a different, but I joke. But just seeing all that momentum happening, it shows that there is a lot of appreciation for what's taking place. And technology and sports, having that intersection is no coincidence. And being able to realize that and take it to market and build opportunities and bring on the right people, the right partners, the right players to participate in the space is hopefully going to create magic for not only us, but for many other organizations and people that will hopefully benefit from that. I won't talk about the stats of it. I think we all know this is a massive industry with lots of money and time and opportunity, but we need to be able to, I think it's already being leveraged. We're going to be seeing 7 companies pitch today that will speak to this. And hopefully this is really the beginning of something that will continue to grow year over year over year. I should say this, it's a very fitting building that we're actually sitting in today. It's called the Sheldon and Tracy Levy Student Learning Center. So just a quick history on this part. Sheldon Levy is a former president of the university, also the person that arguably did one of the most greatest things that the city has ever seen, which is help revitalize the Maple Leaf Gardens, which is now called the Mattamy Athletic Center. It was obviously a closed-down building owned by the Weston family. There was a public-private partnership that was negotiated, and it brought back the Maple Leaf Gardens to life, which is now used as a multi-purpose building for Loblaws to operate one of its grandest and biggest stores, but also allows TMU, formerly known as Ryerson, students to operate and use the facility as an athletic space for them to engage, interact, collaborate, and get a chance to stay healthy and meet each other. So, it's kind of nice to see how all this stuff comes together. And I know that Sheldon was also a huge champion for Sherry and the work that she's doing as well. So it's nice to see everything kind of come back full circle. But we're really privileged to be part of this, and we're very thankful to Sherry for including us on the programming aspect and having the DMZ join forces with Future of Sports. This is something that we're super excited about, not just today, but in hopefully the future formats to come as well, Sherry. So thank you again, and really appreciate your time. And I'm going to pass it back to you, Christine. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Abdullah. All right. Without further ado, let's get to the main event. As mentioned, there are 7 Canadian startups that are going to give their pitch. Following that, there's going to be a bit of a Q&A. So please start thinking of questions when you hear the pitch. And we are going to begin with, I want to introduce Brennan D'Souza from DIBS. DIBS is a startup that uses new technology to enhance the fan experience at event venues everywhere through text messaging. Brennan, take it away.
Hi, everybody. How's it going? So first off, before I start, I just want to say I'm super excited to be here and talk to all of you and tell you our story, because in the end of the day, it's this beautiful story, I think. But basically, my name is Brennan D'Souza, and I'm the founder of DIBS. DIBS is a seat upgrade experience that's done through text messaging. And the reason we can do this is because, well, actually, first off, our goal is to tell everybody that we want them to call DIBS on their next seat upgrade at venues everywhere. So we maximize consumer engagement through text messaging. And we can do this because we partner with the league, the venue, the team, and the ticketing operator to make this happen. So here's a couple of brands that we've worked with so far. And this list, it also comprises of both partners, there's some clients in there of ours, and investors as well. But more notably, I will say Comcast, NBC Universal, because we did go through their accelerator last year, and they have a massive network. So we were able to have a lot of traction since then. But I will also mention, too, that we're proud of, and that's Ticketmaster and Tickets.com. And we have partnerships with both of them. And once again, in order for this to work, you need those gatekeepers in the room to partner with to make this happen. So the bottom line is this. Ticketmaster tells us 30% of all tickets go unsold. And for the distressed ticket inventory, which is a huge number, we actually address that market. That's what we're going for. So we have a solution that helps with it. We've built a simple text messaging platform that patrons can use to upgrade their experiences. So this can be transactional, or this can be surprise and delight. But really what we do is that we can sell you that new seat and that seat upgrade, or maybe even a surprise and delight. So how does it work? Okay, so very simply, people see this call to action around the venue before they get there, or maybe on their way there, or even inside the venue. And they see this call to action. It's a QR code. We're all familiar with QR codes, and they scan it. What it does is that it opens up their messaging app, and then they jump right into the workflow. So because we have that live inventory, fully integrated or not integrated, we can give them the options of seats that could be available. They can go to the next step where they can choose one of those options from good, better, best. They go to the next step, which is, hey, let's go pay for that. Let's go to the checkout workflow and pay for that. And then we issue them their new ticket. And that helps them to just walk up and enjoy their new seats. I want to talk a little bit about this because we're really proud. We launched last year with the Atlanta Braves. And just to show you the metrics of how well this thing works. So we did our trials with them. And basically, 25% of all the people that texted in converted. Super proud of that. Another cool thing is that 60 seconds is our average conversion time. A lot of people did that a lot sooner than that. And then by the third day, 92% of all ticket inventory was sold out. 3-day trial. Super impressed, super happy, and we're like, okay, this is a thing. This is something we'd like to scale, and that's exactly what we're doing. So conceptually, this is how it works, okay? About 8 months ago, we reached out to the MLSE and we said, hey, look, we have this idea. And we came up with a couple of ideas that we think could work. And essentially, it's like this. Let's try and get people to call DIBS on their seat upgrade. Maybe those people in the nosebleeds would find a seat down, like at the floor seats, or a much better seat. So, but what happens with the people that are outside? Maybe we can go on the video board and have these people maybe come inside the stadium. It's the same with the Atlanta Braves. They have the Battery at Truist Park, and there's a lot of people that congregate. Let's get them inside. And so maybe we can take it one step further. What happens if we don't please them to get inside the game, but maybe we can lead them to something in the local area? In this case, hey, look, Real Sports. Maybe we can send them to one of our restaurants and give them like 20% off, like like their beer or something. So we know that we can take them from end to end to kind of like solve this problem. I'll just talk a little bit about some of the things we did in the last 6 months. Obviously, I talked about the Braves. We launched at Penn State. They wanted us to send text messaging to the people that are attending game day to tell them, hey, download your tickets into your wallet because there's no reception at the game and you want to get in. And then Bell Canada is actually one of our clients, and we're a vendor for them now. And we did all their music festivals this summer in Quebec. And so Oshiega, Il Sonique, Lasso, and it was really surprise and delights that they wanted to give to the people that entered these festivals. I will talk about a little bit about this upcoming trials. Obviously, the Flyers, close connection to Comcast, which we have, and I'll talk about on the right. If you see them, those are sponsors we're working with right now. They're very in tune with the amount of eyeballs that are watching these call to actions, and they want to be a part of this story. So we feel like that's it's sponsorship-driven, corporate surprise and delight's going to be a big part of what we do. Quickly, I'll just talk about this 1 year. In this last 1 year since we started, obviously the partnership with Comcast, NBC Universal Sports Tech, now with Future of Sport Lab, love the network. That integrated solution with Ticketmaster and Tickets.com. We're working towards that full integration. These partnerships and trials, even at the league level, who they've expressed interest to take us out to all 30 teams once we have a rolling product. We have that that product solution fit. We're definitely generating money here, both transactionally and surprise and delight through licenses, and then the proven technology ready to scale. We built this for scale, and since day one, we've always been thinking, what does it look like when you can roll this out to every venue out there? Quick talk about our traction, which is what I'm extremely proud of. When we started in 2021, after the accelerator, through that network, we started to do the partnership with Ticketmaster, Tickets.com. We had the fortunate blessing to do a proof of concept with Major League Baseball, obviously Penn State, the music festivals, and we really did establish that product solution fit. And now we want to go to the next step. So that this following year is where we're going to execute, hopefully on a nightly basis, hopefully, and really show them what this looks like at scale for the teams. And then we can move further beyond that. And I'll just talk about this one slide briefly. If you can do text messaging to upgrade in this vertical, the sports vertical, you can use it in other verticals. Performing arts, obviously concerts, they're in the same stadiums we are at, but also hotels. Like, what is it like for a suite upgrade? Maybe it's something we're testing out in Las Vegas right now with one of the resorts. Maybe there's travel opportunities. And I put the sports book in there just because we've been reached out to by a few sports books to say, what does a text-to-bet solution look like? Can you be part of the funnel for in-game betting? I'll talk quickly about my team. I wish they could be here, but they're all over the country right now. But I'm extremely proud of them, and this next year we're going to be growing our team so that we can address some of these big initiations. I'll end off there, but I do have a quick ask. I don't know how much time I have left, but in the end of the day, we know that the people in this room are connected to the teams, the leagues, even investment, but more importantly, it's the network that we crave. The people in this room can really help us drive policy change and do this on a massive scale. So if I hope I get to talk to each one of you, but after this, please approach me. I'd love to connect if there's some way you can help us out, because we believe it's all the relationships and the network that we need most. So thank you very much, guys. And if there's any questions, feel free to throw them out. Yeah. So the reason, those different things we did over this past year, one in let's say Penn State, one at the league level. I'm trying to prove this out in all the leagues. So we started with MLB, and that formula is what I'm trying to replicate. Obviously, when you go and talk to an MLS, you get 4 leagues in one. I need to prove what this thing can do at scale, and I need to also prove that it can be a thing that can roll out everywhere. So my biggest challenge is to just educate people on what this thing does and then show the proof. There's strong revenues tied to this, so I want to show that and not just talk. Yep, exactly.
Can you talk a bit about your choice to go with text as the choice?
Yeah, sure. Well, you guys all have apps, and I'm sure you all have apps that you don't use, and we don't need any more apps on our phone. But I'll tell you, this is our first MVP was through text messaging. this is the lowest barrier to entry. This is the, I mean, it works in a bunch of ways that when you're in a 100,000 seat stadium, there's low connectivity or no connectivity. SMS works, MMS works, and that's why we use it. It's also so simple. People who are not big app users, they can text. And no word of a lie, I wish I could throw a QR code and have all you guys like jump into the workflow and see how simple this is to get an upgrade. And so we saw texting as the method to get everybody at once. And by the way, just the metrics, when we did this at the Braves, we did an in-game hit to a 30% full stadium prior to the game starting, and like in 15 seconds, 3,500 texts just came in. And you're like, wow, so many eyeballs on this. What can we do with this power, right? So, yes?
Partnership with Ticketmaster, obviously they look like your exit strategy at some point. And do they not think that you're cannibalizing what they already have in great market?
So we are not we don't sell tickets before the fact. We sell tickets almost like 2 hours before the event start, and then hopefully throughout the event. That's not the space that they're in at all, yeah. And just to talk about, if anything, we will complement the team and the venue and Ticketmaster with more sales. So we're not stepping on anybody's toes to get that distressed inventory that's perishable anyways. Yes. So that's more on the concert side, and we're going to be doing hopefully some concerts really soon. Yeah. And I saw a question back there. Yeah. I don't want to speak out of turn here because that is probably the #1 question we get. What happens to the value if somebody doesn't show up, and how do I do something with that value? I'll say, like, for us, it's small steps. We just want people to understand what this value is, and that will be a close second big problem that we solve. Yeah. Oh.
Do you have a direct competitor in the space?
All the competitors in the space are mostly secondary market. So we want to be primary. We want to be a bolt-on to a Ticketmaster or a TDC or a Paciolan or Learfield. So really we're text messaging. That's how we are differentiated. I know I'm probably going over time. Yeah, I'll get a hug. Okay, cool. Okay, guys, thanks for listening to me. I'm going to wrap it up. Sherry said wrap it up. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So funny, Brennan. I just have to say, and Abdullah, you were talking about Maple Leaf Gardens. So back in 1995, I was the first in-arena host for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And we used to have a promotion called the AMJ Campbell Move of the Game, where we would randomly choose 2 people in the gray section and bring them down to front row golds. Your seat upgrade system has taken that a long way from what we used to do in 1995. All right, next up, I want to introduce Chris James from Classlead. Classlead's a membership platform helping high school athletes balance school, sports, and their social life while offering a unique way to share their stats, GPA, and volunteer hours on social media through custom Classlead virtual or printed sports cards and posters. Chris James, take it away.
All right, good day, everyone. My name is Chris James. I'm the founder and CEO of Classlead.com. I think it's probably important that we start with a quick video just to kind of get things really rocking and rolling here. How about we do that? Love the acoustics in here, by the way. I can only imagine how you guys feel with all the AV in here. That's awesome. So again, my name is Chris James. I'm the founder and CEO of Classlead.com. We encourage high school athletes to be above the class both on and off the field of play. Let's start with the problem in the market. Out of over 9.1 Canadian and US high school athletes between the ages of 13 and 19, only 2%, as little as 2%, actually get recruited to play in NCAA institutions across Canada and the US. And then out of that 9.1 million, only 7% of athletes go on to get recruited in collegiate sports overall. Yet the majority of those athletes struggle with balancing school, sports, and their social lives, just like I did when I was playing sports 20 years ago. And many of them go unrecognized. So the question is, what happens to those remaining 93% of athletes who are untapped, unrecruited, also play sports either competitively or recreationally, but only have collegiate sports websites as available resources to them? What about those people? Well, that's where Classly comes in. Classly is a membership-based platform for high school student athletes who feel they're not being recognized for their academic, athletic, and social accomplishments. In fact, we are empowering athletes to build self-esteem by offering a unique way in which they can showcase their GPA, their stats, as well as their community hours through our Classly sports cards, which can then be shared with their friends, family, and teammates on social media. Our commercial launch is actually happening in a matter of weeks. We're really excited, and it's actually happening on October the 11th in a couple of weeks now. When you look at our technology, on the front of the sports card, it shows the athlete, shows the jersey, and maybe their action shot, for example. But on the back of the sports card, I want to draw your attention to a few different details. It showcases their stats, their GPA, as well as the community hours, and we wanted to do so on purpose because we wanted to show how well-rounded it meant to be a high school student athlete, and not just the stigma of being just looked upon as another jock. We also highlight what we call their Classly type, and you can see this one's a balance athlete. There's over 4 different unique Classly types. Think of a personality test or behavioral assessment. It's not meant to be scientific, it's just meant to be fun. And athletes will get a chance to undergo a survey upon signing up for a platform, and that will determine what their Classly type is and have a position on their poster or their sports card. And then lastly, we have badges and points. Through our Classly badges and points system, where we're leveraging the gamification, where if athletes complete their user profile or do certain activities, they can actually earn those rewards and discounts as being a member of a part of our platform. Every athlete will get a chance to join for free, so we do have for a freemium service as well. You can see that the template looks like this with the red, but based on changing their specific sport, the background and specific aspects of the sports card does change. And then, of course, we offer our printed premium sports cards which come with paid designs, and we offer the standardized rate of 3.5 inches in height, 2.5 inches in width, and the cardstock thickness is 16-point cardstock, just to really envelop the quality and the sturdiness of our sports card. So it doesn't feel flimsy or something that's whimsical. And lastly, we also provide a high gloss laminate that will really ensure that it shines bright in any lighting environment. And then last up, we have our Classly printed posters, and those posters come in the sizes of 12 by 18. So think how cool this would be to have your son, your daughter, your niece and nephew have their own Classly poster right beside an athlete that they may be admired, that may play in the NHL or NBA or MLSC or whatever have you, right? And here's what I'm most excited to talk about. Classly is offering an NFT initiative in which we're working with GameStop and the Immutable X platform, where we will be offering high school and collegiate athletes the opportunity to mint their own sports card by paying us for so. And this will allow them to later resell it on an NFT marketplace to generate income based on their NIL, which stands for name, image, and likeness, a big buzz term in this day and age. In fact, Classly will receive a 5% royalty fee off of every single one of those transactions. So let's say you have a predominant athlete that is popular in the sport of basketball, but then he has a social media following of maybe 4,000 to 5,000. But let's say he gets recruited, but now his social media following is growing to maybe 10,000, 20,000. But let's say that athlete who has minted their sports card when he was in high school now also becomes professional. Think about how valuable that asset will be in the future. We're looking to roll out the NFT initiative very, very soon, so stay tight to our new announcement. So here's how it works. The user creates a user profile, they undergo a survey, determines their Classly type. From there, the user receives their free sports card, and we ask them to share it on social media so their friends or family or teammates can also see it. And then from there, we upsell them to become either a bronze, silver, or gold member, or they can shop on our shop page as a one-time transaction. And they also are encouraged to share, promote with their friends, family, and teammates. So let's say I played hockey and someone saw my profile, they saw my sports card. It would encourage others to want to see it. And that's essentially how we deem to be able to grow and scale our community. So all scattered throughout our platform is the idea of joining, creation, and sharing. We also have a membership community as well. Free includes a free basic template I showed previously. But with bronze, silver, and gold, you can see that it increases in different capacities. Bronze, for example, gives you 3 virtual sports cards. Silver gives you 6 virtual sports cards, as well as our coveted printed Class Seat sports cards that come in 21 sports cards, and they includes continental free shipping across Canada and the US. And then our gold builds on top of that with our included printed Class Seat posters, which also includes continental free shipping as well. Really excited to talk about this because I don't think this would have happened without the help of the FSL and some of the mentors and the conversations that we're having, of course. And I think, you know, it's really helped force Classy to not just be a B2C offering, but really to look at the B2B2C component as well. Well, in fact, we're having a conversation with a number of these organizations to provide co-branded Class Seat sports cards. So think of their logo as well as our logo being on the sports card with a specialized QR code that when scanned based on the person looking at it will lead to a specific desired call to action or website. All these conversations are happening now, whether it's with Skillshark or the Program.ai, which is a member of the cohort today, or Jewels of Ontario, which is the #1 elite basketball association for Canadian girls, Ripken Baseball, which is the leading U.S. Youth Basketball Association or Baseball Association, and we also have the Metro Predators as well. When you look at our team, we have a number of over 45 years of combined tech experience. You have myself as a founder and CEO. I'm a former Canadian and collegiate athlete as well. My previous stint was at Best Buy for Business, where I led sales pursuits, selling into school boards and school districts. So that's the experience that I would be leveraging moving forward here with the Classy opportunity. Couldn't be more excited about our team. Special shout out to Dominic, Kevin, Diego, and Luxanne, because without them, I would not be here. So that's it, guys. Listen, thank you very much for the opportunity. We, of course, are looking for strategic early-stage investors, connectors in the education, youth space, of course. Help support us. You know, don't be shy. Come say hi. Take a look at the product, of course, and help us support high school athletes being above the class, both on and off the field of play. Thank you. Questions? Go ahead.
Is the card dynamic in the sense that as the student evolves, that it reflects those changes and creates more opportunities for interaction?
Absolutely. So things such as a Class Seat survey, they'll have a chance to not only just be what their archetype is at that point in time, but they can retake the survey, maybe a semester or maybe a year later. And it'll be interesting to see what the evolution of that athlete will be based on their archetype, based on their stats, based on their GPA, et cetera. So we encapsulate all those details to our platform.
Where are you running into most of the barriers inside the Canadian sports landscape in terms of getting connected and getting your product moving forward?
Yeah, so you know, with my background and some connections in the U.S., of course, they eat, live, and breathe sports, completely different than how we do so in Canada. I think part of us in being collected here is we're really looking to change that. And I think in Canada, if we envelope some of the excitement and the rigor of what it is to be an athlete in sports and to take advantage of tools like this that can enable them to either become recruited or just for them to celebrate their successes both on and off the field of play, you know, that's what Class Seat's about. I would hope that through this initiative, even though we're Canadian, we sell across North America, that we can help, you know, change that paradigm here in Canada. Yes.
A bit of a layer on top of that. You've done a nice job of creating the tools and the awareness for the athlete themselves. Presumably access to recruiters is a challenge, and so are you opening channels and access to the recruiters in addition to the tools you're creating?
Yeah, great question. So right now there's probably about 4 to 5 predominantly very popular recruitment website platforms out there. I decided not to go after that angle because I felt like the underserved, untapped market of the other 93% is really where we wanted to target. Now, if the user base comes back and says, hey, Chris, we've been able to use our sports card to get recruited, or to land that job opportunity, or to use it as a digital resume or printed resume, then that may change sort of our positioning in the future. But as we launch, those are the learnings and those are the iterations that we're prepared to go through. Great question. One in the back, I almost missed you. Go ahead.
Hi, this is not a nice question, and I'm sorry, but we know one of the biggest barriers to entry to sports, particularly for women, is cost. And all of a sudden, you can get in here for $0, but if you really want to be seen, you have to pay more money. So how does this really serve the 93 that's not currently being served, and not just the 2% that are already being seen?
Yeah, great question. So Class A was really spurred from a personal struggle of mine where I felt like I was a part of that 93%. So although I was partially recruited to play at York University, I felt like I didn't receive all the resources that, you know, the elite athletes got, for example, right? So although there's a paid component, we tried our best to make it as cost effective as possible, but still provide something that was dynamic and really help build self-esteem by helping them self-express through the other over 144 different design combinations that we have. So I think if we can provide that offering, build self-esteem, you know, help them feel, touch the sports card and kind of, you know, have a sense of being to that asset, and if they can actually generate income based on their NIL or NFT offering, you know, I think that's us paying it back forward. That's it. Great. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for that, Chris. Next up, I want to introduce Adam Nathwani from Drive Hockey Analytics that takes pro-level hockey player and puck tracking, leveraging AI and wearable sensor technology for mainstream hockey. Adam.
Hi, everybody. My name is Adam Nathwani. I'm the COO of Drive Hockey Analytics. Very grateful for the opportunity to speak today and share some of the innovative developments that we're making in the amateur hockey analytics space. So it's no secret that analytics is revolutionizing how athletes develop, how teams prepare and compete, as well as how fans engage with and consume sports. And this has led to the NHL recently investing millions of dollars into sensor-based player and puck tracking technology across the league. Unfortunately, unless you're an NHL club, bringing this type of capability into your organization just isn't feasible. And that's because the challenge with sports analytics has always been the time, cost, and complexity associated with collecting data, which is why previously only the top pro levels have had access. Now, if you look at the amateur segment, and particularly as you get to the younger and lower levels, these players are in a stage of their athletic development with the steepest learning curve, and yet they have the least access to new tools, technologies, and resources to support that development process. And fundamentally, that's the gap that we're trying to fill. Drive Hockey has developed a player and puck tracking system using sensor technology and AI, very similar to what was introduced into the NHL. The key difference being that we have specifically designed, built, and priced our product for the amateur segment for less than $400 per player per season for the 50,000 competitive teams below the NHL. Our system is based on a suite of sensors using ultra-wideband technology. We have sensors that go around the ice rink as part of a mobile kit, which can be set up in under 15 minutes. We have sensors that go on the players as a wearable. We have sensors that go inside of our custom pucks. And we also have a unique way of placing a sensor directly inside of a player's stick in order to track the stick independently of the player. This hardware allows us to capture a significant amount of information, upwards of 3,000 data points per second. We take this information, we process it, we run it through our AI models, and then we visualize it to our online platform, where players and coaches can log in shortly after their ice time to review their performance and compare against targets, benchmarks, and even historic performances. Our system instantly gives a breakdown of how players apply a variety of skills, how they compare with others, and what they can do to improve. This is something that previously required hours of game film review by an expert hockey development coach to accomplish. We spent the last 3 years in conjunction with leading universities developing this cutting-edge technology, and we have tested and refined it over a series of pilot projects with teams ranging from youth to university level. And we're currently in discussions with the MLSE in terms of bringing our technology into their ecosystem for use by their pro teams, amateur development programs, as well as for collaborative R&D opportunities to further expand on our sensor technology. Right now, our system is set up in 15 rinks just in the Vancouver area alone. And through partnerships with regional service providers and ice rink operators, we expect to be in at least 65 by the end of next year. Our team is made up of a set of diverse and seasoned individuals with a collective 75 years of experience in elite and pro hockey training, with success scaling 5 previous startups, combined 50 years experience in sales and marketing and technology development, as well as experience establishing over 200 distribution channels. Our technology allows for deep insight into player and team performance, unlike single sensor or video-based analytics solutions, which can only offer a limited scope of analytics capabilities, or which use underlying technologies that have less accurate and subjective data collection methods, with delayed processing times and generic insights. We don't simply tally basic stats of events like shots on goal or turnovers, but rather we provide hockey-specific insights across a variety of athletics, gameplay, and even tactical metrics in order to better understand hockey events, what led to them, what their outcomes were, and all of the situational context around them. Our system is well designed, it's simple to use, it's flexible, highly intuitive, even for non-technical users, and we have built a strong portfolio of IP, including proprietary hardware and machine learning models, as well as a robust and scalable data system, and we have 2 patents pending for our world-class IP. We are a data company first and foremost. We sell hardware, and we sell data access subscriptions. Initially, our focus is to use our data to help players and teams get better, but we also see downstream applications for our data as well across the hockey industry. For instance, for scouting, media and broadcasting, fan engagement, in-arena experience, and even sports betting depending on the segment. And we see easy transition into related sports like field hockey and lacrosse, for which we get numerous inquiries. The potential for the amateur hockey analytics market is vast, with a total addressable market of 50,000 teams and $300 million in annual recurring revenue. We expect to reach at least 3,000 of those teams, which would bring nearly $20 million in revenue on an annual recurring basis. If we expand the scope to include related sports like field hockey and lacrosse, the potential increases to $13 billion for the 2 million teams collectively worldwide. We are currently seeking strategic partners and investors to help us take advantage of our early position in the amateur hockey analytics space. And so we welcome any introductions, discussions, or partnerships that can accelerate our growth. So please reach out for more details. Thank you very much, and happy to answer any questions you may have. We've talked to them briefly, and we're hoping to continue our relationship with them. Perfect, that would be awesome. Anyone else? Oh, yeah.
Video technology inside arenas, obviously lots of issues with connectivity and whatnot. How have you been able to kind of get around that? Sounds like you haven't any issues with it at all.
No, we don't really have too many issues with connectivity. We basically create our own network through our sensors. I know video's had some other issues beyond the connectivity. I mean, largely because it's a line of sight based thing. If the camera loses track of the puck or the player, then you obviously can't collect the data, which is where our technology comes in handy. I think in future, likely there's going to be some integration with video, and I think that's how you kind of get best of both worlds.
Are you selling to the arenas, the teams, private coaches? Who's the customer?
Yeah, so ultimately the users are going to be the teams. We mainly want to focus with leagues. I mean, from an efficiency point of view, it's a lot easier for us to work with 20 teams in one league than 20 disparate teams. But we can also add better quality data and a greater scope of analytics if we have the entire team involved. If you consider, scouting, pre-scout. So that's part of the benefit of having an entire league is you don't have to travel with it. Only the home team would be responsible for setting it up at their home games and practices, of course. But if it wasn't league-wide, then you could travel from rink to rink. And the beauty of our kit is that it's made to be mobile. So it's a pretty handy kit. You put it kind of in a small briefcase, and you can kind of take it on wherever you need to go.
Yep. Can you give us a few examples on how the team used it, what type of data they've collected, and what the result has been?
Yeah, so we've, most of our pilots, we've done a few pilots where we've included our puck, but most of them have just been just the player tracking, which is kind of our entry point. We want to get people kind of familiar with how it's worked. So generally the information we're collecting there is athletics based with some gameplay. Layering on the puck is where we kind of take it to a whole new level, because then we get all kinds of gameplay and tactical metrics as well. But generally the pilots that we've done are mostly on the athletic side, so you can imagine speed, acceleration, stopping power, endurance, distance covered, those types of metrics, but layered on with all kinds of situational context. So for example, we could tell you speed in the offensive zone versus the defensive zone, on a forecheck versus a back check, in the first period versus the third period, in open ice versus the perimeter versus net front, as examples. Oh, maybe one last question?
Great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
How analytic savvy are amateur coaches? Do you find, are they able to make decisions based on the data, or is that a future opportunity for you folks to kind of guide them and train them how to make those decisions?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of hit or miss. Generally, we're working, at least with our pilots, we're working with kind of the more competitive teams, and they tend to be more inclined to use data. The challenge is they just don't have the data to work with, and so there's a bit of a happy medium there. I think as this cascades down to the grassroots level, which is kind of our long-term vision, you don't have that same knowledge base, and so we probably have to be a little bit more prescriptive in how we present the information, maybe provide some training tools, or even offer as a service in future as well. Great, thank you very much.
Great stuff, thanks Adam. All right, next up I'd like to introduce Joseph D. Marinas from bookseats.com, simplifying the way fans travel, allowing users to book custom packages that include any combination of flights, accommodations, and or tickets to events around the world. Joseph, over to you.
Thank you, Christine. Let's see if this will work. There we go. Thank you everyone for coming this afternoon. My name is Joseph D. Marinas, and I am the founder and CEO of bookseats.com, a Comcast, NBC Universal, and of course, Future of Sport Lab backed business. Bookseats.com, as Christine mentioned, simplifies the way fans travel. According to a recent article in Front Office Sports, this season in the NFL, over 25% of in-stadium fans will be from out of town and cheering for the visiting team. Traveling to an event is supposed to look a lot like this, right? It's a fun, exciting moment. Well, traditionally, you have two options. You can overpay for a prepackaged premium service, like an On Location, for example, where you have no flexibility itinerary, no customization, transportation's not included, and typically only for the premium events. Or, like many of us, I'm sure, you have that one hero friend who has to plan it all, right? Well, for that one hero friend, it definitely does not look like this. It looks more like this. They have to research, they have to calculate costs, they have to book and pay through a number of different platforms. Well, we see ourselves at bookseats.com as that hero friend. A one-stop shop that allows you to plan and book your event travel. So if you were to land on our B2C platform, our homepage acts similar to an event ticket platform. You can search for your favorite team, performer, league, etc. In this case, my brother and I are big Toronto Maple Leafs fans, always wanted to go to Bell Centre in Montreal to watch the Leafs. So we would search for the Toronto Maple Leafs, we'd land on the Toronto Maple Leafs page. Then we can see all their upcoming events and schedule and games. We can filter based off of home games, away games, opponents, dates, etc. So we're going to find the Montreal Canadiens, and we'll see all the upcoming Montreal Canadiens, Toronto Maple Leafs events. So Saturday, January 21st, Toronto at Montreal at Bell Centre. This build package page is where it differentiates ourselves from all of our competitors. We hold our customers' hand through this very frustrating process and take out all the guesswork. How many tickets? 2 tickets. Hotels near the venue or the city center. We pre-populate dates, day before, day after, but everything is fully customizable based on the customer's itinerary, and everything is forgoable. If you don't need flights, for example, you can say no thanks. In this case, we're gonna fly from Toronto. The dates for the flights are already pre-populated. We know we're going to Montreal, and we're gonna go on our way here. Our first stop in our booking flow is the hotel, and all of our pricing is per person, inclusive of all of the services. So flights, accommodation, tickets, taxes, and fees. So you'll see we're sitting at $785 for this property. We can filter, and we have a map view. We have the stadium pin, and with all the inventory that we have available around. We can filter based off star rating, reviews, etc., similar to a travel platform. Let's look at let's go for the Marriott property in Montreal, $900 per person. We have photos, we have popular amenities. We can see that it's 0.3 kilometers to the Bell Center. We could choose different room categories. In this case, guest room, 2 double beds works for us. No extra cost there. And then we get to our flights. Again, similar to a travel platform, we have all the inventory based on the search parameters that we're given. We can look, and we want to leave from Billy Bishop, so we can set departing from Billy Bishop instead of Pearson. And I'm an Air Canada guy, so I'll spend the extra couple bucks to go with Air Canada. So for an extra $200, we can leave 9:20 a.m. from Billy Bishop with Air Canada, and we could choose our return time. So let's look at the 3:30 from Montreal back to Billy Bishop. Lastly, on our booking flow is our event ticket section. So here, very similar to an event ticket platform, we have a map view, different sections. We start our customers at the top, and they can upgrade as they wish. So in this case, we can select different section. Let's look at section 119. So for an extra $290, we can sit 100 level. 90% of our venues have actual seat maps, so you can actually see what your seat looks like in stadium. And just like that, in under 3 minutes, we were able to plan and book our flights, accommodation, and tickets to Montreal to see the Maple Leafs and the Canadiens at the Bell Center. How are we doing this? So we have created a live marketplace with strategic partners in all of the airline, accommodation, and event ticket space to not only ensure that our customers get the most and the best inventory, but once 2 or more services are bundled, we can actually access exclusive discounted rates in the process and pass those off to our customers, which is why we have the all-in-one pricing model. So our B2C business, like you saw there, is one of 3 different revenue streams. We launched it as essentially our MVP to make sure that we had product solution fit, to make sure that there was a demand for our service. And we launched our business in October 2019. Pretty tough time to launch an event travel business, but we are extremely, extremely proud that we have survived the pandemic and came out much stronger. So we'll look at traction numbers from this year to date, 2022. We have moved over 1,600 fans on our B2C platform alone, done over 1.5 million in sales with an ASP of around 1,500. And again, a big quarter still remains in this year. So although our revenues and growth is continuing on our B2C platform, we have identified the B2B business as where our main focus is. So we are working with sport and music properties to help their fans get to their events and their venues, enhancing the fan experience and fan engagement piece, but also we can help them learn more about their fans by providing them cleansed first-party data of all those fans that are booking through this platform. Our third revenue stream speaks to the flexibility of our technology. We are working with Golf Now and Golf Pass, the leaders in the golf marketplace, to solve a massive gap in the industry, which is golf vacations and golf trips. So we are taking our technology, we're replacing stadiums and tickets with tee times and golf courses, any of the 9,000 plus that Golf Now and Golf Pass has access to. And I'm excited to announce that actually this morning, we actually launched golftrips.golfpass on Golf Pass with their users where they can plan and book flights, accommodation, and tee times. So what's the ask here today? I think when it comes to investment, this platform and this business has been bootstrapped. Comcast is the first on our cap table, and we are getting close to announcing a seed round raise with a verbal commitment from a lead investor. So if you're on the investment side, if yourself or someone within your network would be interested in getting involved in changing the way experiential travel is planned and booked, please feel free to reach out to me. And for those that are part or have a network in the sport or music property side of things, and you want to help learn more about your fans and help them get to your venue, grow your brand from a regional to a global brand, please feel free to reach out to me or find me later on today. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Joseph D. Marinas, and if anyone has any questions, more than happy to take them. All right. Oh, nice.
Yeah, I didn't get the B2B part.
Yeah, so we're we're white labeling our platform and a fully customizable white label platform that sports and music properties can then take on and sell packages to their specific events. So for WWE, for example, they can speak to their customers. They can promote that this platform can help their customers and their fans get to their events within their infrastructure, their customization, their branding, etc. Or we have an iframe solution that we can fully embed into their environment so that they can keep the customer within their website or their digital platforms.
How big is the addressable market?
Well, I mean, 25% of NFL fans, for example, will be traveling to that game. So 25% of the essentially global ticketing market is addressable. On top of that, we layer in the flights and accommodations on top of that. So we can get into huge numbers of what that global travel market would look like and is, but I would perceive it as 20 to 30% of the ticket market layered on top of what the travel component could be.
Who's the competition?
So there are pre-packaged services like an On Location that we see as a competitor, and the 1+1+1 model. So if you were to go on a travel platform like Google Flights to buy your flights, if you were going to go to Expedia for your hotel, and then go to Ticketmaster to buy your tickets, that would be considered our competitors in the space. But no one is currently doing the online frictionless customization that we're doing.
Very good.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, so if I'm going to one of these games, I'm also going to think about, going to a restaurant before the game. Like,
yeah.
Have you thought about selling, having restaurants sell advertisements or anything like that within your flow? Are you open to advertisements within your workflow?
Yeah, great question. So Booking.com, Priceline Group, Agoda, they're all part of Booking Holdings, and they actually have OpenTable as well. They're a partner of ours, and we're getting involved with them shortly for post-purchase. So once a fan or a guest checks out, we know that they're going to Montreal, for example, we can send them specific dates and restaurant recommendations for reservations.
Are you able to customize the platform for specific partners? So if you're going to teams or leagues that have specific partners in that space, are you able to go search Marriott properties only or something?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for asking that question, actually. So that is one of the biggest added values that we bring to these different partnerships with our B2B partners. We can actually push the MLSE, for example, a Marriott partnership, Bonvoy, as well as Air Canada. We can actually promote specific airlines and or hotels to the top of the list so that we can feature them through our platform. If they would like us to turn off all the other inventory, that would be a discussion to be had just because of the amount of inventory that's available to ensure that there is enough inventory for the fans and the customers. But we can at least promote product to the top of our booking flow.
Just a last one, quick one, yeah. You mentioned the 1+1+1 being a big part of your competitive set. What is the balance of kind of pitching the reduced friction in your value proposition versus the cost savings that one might be looking for to veer away from that and go towards your platform?
Yeah, I think when it comes to cost savings, we want to remain competitive to that 1+1+1 to allow us to continue to grow our margins and our revenue. So I think the service is the biggest thing. The one-stop shop, the one checkout is the biggest value prop. I think that the price point is going to continue to change, and as we continue to grow our revenues with the different partners, we can access better rates. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Joseph. All right, I'd now like to introduce Brendan Ferguson from the Program.ai, a new vehicle for delivering sports and fitness content to youth in a fun and interesting way to keep them engaged in a healthy lifestyle and create a lifelong relationship with wellness. Brendan, come on up.
Thank you very much. So as mentioned, I'm Brendan Ferguson, and I'm the CEO of the Program.ai. The Program.ai we define as what we call a youth sports engagement application. I'll get into what that really means in a few minutes, but before I do that, I'd like to set the table with the type of problem we solve. A problem we've seen as people who are passionate about sports and a group of parents as well is that fewer kids are playing sport, and those that do are dropping out earlier and earlier. So our mission statement is to actually level the playing field in sport by providing youth with access to engage in sport regardless of their location, their economics, or their skill level. That's a very broad mission statement, I'm aware of that. So what do we actually do to address that? Well, what we do is we provide an out-of-the-box mobile application that's custom branded to allow any youth sports organization to connect directly with youth athletes in a fun and interactive mobile experience. So before I move on from this slide, what I really want to zone in on here is the fact that our users are the youth athletes, but our customers are these youth sports organizations. What comes to a lot of people's minds when they think about a youth sports organization is your typical NSO, NGB, like a Volleyball Canada, Baseball USA. And without a doubt, those are potential customers of ours. They want to create the next generation of volleyball players, the next generation of baseball players. We provide them with a vehicle to do that, but it's much broader than that. We also have the ability to create the next generation of fans for pro sports teams, for instance, who want to get out there and engage kids in the community to get them into their sport. Also, charitable organizations and government-funded organizations that have a sole purpose of getting kids into sport are perfect customers for us. So we have some pilots going on with groups in all three of those domains, and it really works to get youth involved. So how are we disrupting what's currently happening to engage youth athletes? I know this is a wordy slide, so I'll summarize this. But these organizations have invested very heavily in content. A lot of that content, and what we're talking about here, is things like workout programs, drills and skills, assessments, challenges, etc. It lives multiple clicks into websites, and to be totally honest, it gathers dust there. It's being underutilized, and it's expensive content to create. We think that's because it's a one-way experience. It's not app-based. Kids go there, they interact with the content, and the journey ends there. You get no feedback as to how that content was interacted with or what they do after that point in time. Enter the Program.ai. We provide this custom-branded mobile application that looks and feels like the youth sports organization's application that can be up and running in legitimately one day, and it provides this interactive experience so you know what your impact is on these kids. The real alternative to this at this point in time is developing a custom mobile application. A custom mobile application, as you know, for your typical youth sports organization is a big undertaking. It's expensive, it's time-consuming, and it's not what they are experts at, which is engaging youth. So we take that burden off their plate. I'll get into our feature sets here briefly, and it's divided out into two pieces. One is the organization side, and the other is the actual youth athlete side. At an organization level, what they truly get is that custom-branded app that allows them to onboard athletes incredibly easily through either a QR code at a facility or invite codes that are pushed through social media that brings kids into their version of the application. They can then push new or pre-existing content to all these kids with a couple of short clicks, and they can then track how these kids interact with the content. They can also send push notifications that bring kids back time and time again, and hopefully give them another opportunity to interact with sport and create that lifelong relationship with sport. This is the most important piece, and that's what the actual youth see, because this doesn't actually work if the youth are not going to use it. So we've focused a lot of our time on creating a very fun, interactive feature set. So after that onboarding process, they have access to hundreds of assessments, workouts, and challenges, which all leverage augmented reality using a phone's camera. They can put it against the wall or have a friend use their phone to actually track them doing any type of exercise. It will count their reps, reject bad reps, accept good reps, and that, of course, validates that they've actually done the activity. They can see how they stack up against their friends on leaderboards. They can see how they stack up against everybody else in the Program.ai on leaderboards. It's also an opportunity to reward kids for partaking. So after that validated exercise is created, they can be rewarded with perks from our customers, such as tickets to preseason games, merchandise, or even unlocking premium content. And of course, they get the ability to stay up to date with organizations' news that they care about. If there's upcoming registrations for, say, a flag football program, etc., they're constantly in the loop through push notifications. So what's our business model? We are a B2B company. We go out to those youth sports orgs that I mentioned, and we offer them one of these custom branded mobile applications on an ARR-based contract that can be up and running for as little as $5,000. They can also bring a sponsor to the table to offset that cost. Second, we have a B2B2C revenue stream as well, in that they can purchase upsell content, or what we call premium content, through the platform. That content can be the content of our partners or the premium content that comes standard with the program.ai. That can actually turn this into a revenue generating sector as opposed to a cost center for these organizations. So it's an easy sell at that point because we're pursuing a very positive cause with a positive return on investment for these orgs. Finally, why do we think we're a good organization to do this? Our team has been involved in sports tech. 8 of the 9 members have been in sports tech for over 5 years. And we have successful exits in this space in the past. Over $223 million of successful exit value, almost half of which is actually in sports tech. And finally, our extended team has been fantastic. We've been able to attract some great investment from athletes such as Connor McDavid, Mitch Marner, and Jason Tatum, who are also some of the providers of the premium content that I mentioned earlier. And a fantastic group of sports advisors as well, who put their stamp of approval on everything in the platform to ensure we're doing no harm with our content. Right now, we launched this company back in January of 2021. We've focused solely on product development up to this point in time. And similar to some of the other companies, we're also very close to launch date. We will be launching next Tuesday. The app will be available in the App Store, and we will be able to take on clients. Prior to that, we have just finished up our pilot phase with 3 different pilot clients to very positive results. We're in the process of raising a $1.5 million round as we speak. The lead investor has been secured for that round, and there is $500,000 remaining in the round to be filled out. As we talked about asks earlier, I would love to have a chat with anyone who's interested from an investment perspective, from a partnership or customer perspective, or even more importantly, if you just want to chat youth sports. Incredibly passionate about that field. So I would love to have a chat with anyone who has any interest whatsoever. We're the program.ai. Thank you very much. So we are under NDA with 2 of them, but one of them is an organization that we're not under NDA with, who provides all of the actual rep level sports for the Alabama school system. One of them is actually a professional sports team, and the other one is a group that runs camps for youth.
So you can tell me later.
No comment. Yes?
Have you considered companies like Canadian Tire and Jumpstart in terms of opportunities and partnerships?
Absolutely. So Jumpstart, to be honest, would be the ideal customer type for this type of business. They're one of those organizations I suggested that have the sole purpose of engaging kids in sport. And it speaks to the quality of the FSL. Actually, one of our mentors was someone at the Jumpstart organization. So we've actually had some great conversations with them to date and are looking forward to pursuing those further in the future.
One of the untapped markets with youth sports is all of the kids that are not in programs. Do you have a vision of how you might try and capture those kids? And those kids also that may not have phones but have tablets in their parents' computers?
Absolutely. The tablet thing was a big piece for us, ensuring that everything worked effectively on a tablet, because that's how you get into the lower age groups in terms of that being a family device. But in terms of how we access kids who are currently not playing sport and have no way in here, a big way we tap into that is the fact that the youth sports organizations we're dealing with, especially when you get into the foundations for pro sports teams and things of that nature, have great followings on social media. So you may have kids who are fans of the game, but have never had an ability to interact with the game or get involved. So we're trying to rely on the marketing power of our customers and partners to try and drag those kids into sport and have another opportunity for them to get involved. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, great presentation and really well built out product. You've got some really good partners already. What is your ask of us? Like, where are you struggling right now and how can we help?
Yeah, so in terms of, we really, I don't know if this is unique, but we focused so much on product development up front, we haven't spent as much time developing out our sales funnel. That being said, Jeff, who's in the room, has been doing a fantastic job of kicking it off. Really for us, it's about introductions into the type of customers who could use this at this point in time. We would love to get connected with anyone who you think is passionate about engaging kids in sport. That's a big ask for us. We are happy to get on the phone, chat with someone, virtually anyone, to be honest. We're incredibly passionate about it.
Yeah, professional athletes you had up on the screen. I was curious if you had any discussions with them about taking a bigger role or marketing them.
Yeah, so that's one thing, just due to time constraints, I didn't dig in too much, but we actually have over 20 hours of content filmed with those athletes specifically. That's the type of content we talk about. We offer a large portion of that for free, and then you have the ability to either unlock that content through kind of sweat equity, or you can just jump the queue and pay for some of that content if you would so like. So yeah, they've all been fantastic. Jason Tatum as well has filmed a lot of video content just promoting the company as well. They've been a great group of ambassadors. Oh, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Brendan. Next up, I want to introduce Chris Gardner from Tip Tap Sports, an enhanced touchless payment experience that increases the fundraising potential of sport organizations and helps venues improve fan experience. Chris, over to you.
Thank you very much. So as mentioned, I'm going to use this mic. My name is Chris Gardner. I'm the co-founder and general manager of Tip Tap Sports. And we wanted to start, I wanted to start and talk a little bit first about who Tip Tap is, and then we can talk about the subsidiary Tip Tap Sports. And really to get into it, Tip Tap is in the business of trying to help charities across North America and around the globe to more effectively collect donations. So if you've been watching anything from the US Fed or the Treasury, you'll know that a lot of people are not carrying cash in their pockets anymore. 70%, in fact, aren't carrying cash. And you know what they're really faced with is the only part of the industry that hasn't moved to digital payments are charities. There's exceptions, obviously. There's parking and other things. But for the most part, when you think about when you have to reach into your wallet and you have to pull out cash, you're probably doing so for someone who might be on the corner, someone who might be asking you if they're ringing the bell, Salvation Army, or someone coming to your door trying to solicit funds for a great cause. So over half of those people who don't carry cash would be more than happy to make donations if they were able to use digital means. And that, in effect, is what we do at Tip Tap. So we build a device. This is an example of one. I've got many more in the table in the back. But this device does two things. One, it's set. So this one will always be a $2 device. When you tap it with your existing Visa, MasterCard, Interac card, you name it, or your phone, we take that information and we have a SIM card in this, and it runs on the Rogers network in Canada and other networks around the world, and we settle the transaction in 3 to 6 seconds. So from the time you tap your card, you want to make a donation to a charity, to the point when that money is available to go into the bank account of that charity, 3 to 6 seconds. So take that concept, and if we move a little bit further on to Tip Tap Sports, hopefully this will run. Anyway, we'll maybe show this a little later, but it gives you the ability to see our devices in action, our displays in action, and the work that we do. We have over 250 different charity partners, predominantly in Canada and the US, and a couple in Europe right now. Okay, so Tip Tap Sports comes along, and it was found in January of this year as an extension of Tip Tap to really focus on the sports community in two fronts. First and foremost, and similar to what Brendan was talking about with Program AI, we're focused on getting more youth into sport. And so I'll give you a little different reason why. we know that 1 in 3 kids can't afford the cost of sport. We're all up here, a lot of us are hockey related, and you know how expensive it is to get your kid playing at the top levels of sport. 1 in 3 cannot afford that. And when you get into lower income families and communities, it's almost half. So sport not only is for those who make it to MLSE and other levels, but there's a research that's done out of the UK that says for every dollar or every pound you invest in youth to get them into sport, you get a $2 or £2 return on that investment. And that comes because they're not in the incarceration. They're not incarcerated. 1, lower prevalence of incarceration, lower prevalence of spending time in hospitals and using up healthcare costs. And the third is when they graduate and go on to their career, 30% higher income on average, and that equates to tax revenue. So $1 in is $2 out, well down the road. So we're focused on that when it comes to giving. We call it touchless giving. Touchless payments is focused more on working with professional venues, professional stadiums to enhance that customer experience by allowing people to grab what they want, make that payment quickly, and get back to their seat. So I'll show you some examples. I mentioned a lot of these statistics already as I was talking, but the key here is that there's almost $700 million in opportunity alone when it comes to helping more youth get into sport and supporting them when they're in sport. And these are just a couple of different examples. We have all of our devices come in different types of displays. And what's key here you can see is that this is an example of a hockey program over near Hamilton who went around in the community and were able to raise over $1,300 in a few hours by talking to community members and asking for a donation to minor hockey. And so the money that was raised here, and that was a quick pilot, but it was really put right back into the minor hockey program, and it offset the registration fees for the next year. We do a lot of work with golf courses, I should say charity golf tournaments. This one is from the MLSE Foundation, who's a partner of ours. We allow people to buy mulligans. They're able to do putting contest, long drive contest, etc. We work not only with MLSE, but a number of different charities, and this is a great way to raise funds for your organization and your cause. As well, our devices can go into posters, which can hang on the fence. So ballparks, soccer fields. This is a hockey rink, again, we put up. So we work with municipalities and rec centers to be able to start to collect when it's the volunteers who are often going out keeping that field in shape. So through all of our efforts on the amateur side, we've started to work quite a bit on the professional side. There was great research that came out from Oracle that said, the Oracle Food and Beverage Group, that said the average fan waits 30 minutes in lines, including from the time they're trying to park right through until the time that they're leaving. And a lot of those lines are waiting for standard items that take, on average, 45 seconds to a minute for someone to key in 1 tall boy beer or 1 standard t-shirt. What we're in the business of doing is coming along and providing that transaction in 3 to 6 seconds, moving those people who want that single, simple purchase item and getting them into a separate line where they can literally just tap and go. So through that, we've been exploring this opportunity on the professional side, and this is an example of something that we've tried very briefly, but we're looking to do more of, which is in-aisle hawking. We do work, this is an example only for the MLSE folks in the room, how we can sell single t-shirts for game night for that night at a set price in a very effective way. And parking as well. A lot of times you're coming into park and you're waiting in a really long line before you can get in there. It's the same amount for everybody to come in and park. What's key in all of this is that we provide a dashboard to all of our customers, which gives them real-time access to all the data. So you can see every transaction from every single device and every location that device is in, and you can tie it to different campaigns. So you could be seeing how effective each campaign is in real time and actually layering it over a heat map where you can start to move your volunteers, or you can move your food and beverage or merchandise team to certain areas which are showing a higher activity rate. This is a quick snapshot of our existing clients. We too have been part of the Comcast program in the US earlier this year, and have been able through that to run a number of different initiatives across all these partners. And these span not only professional ranks, but you'll see in there's a lot that are focused more on the amateur ranks, colleges, universities, right down to, you know, very grassroots sports. In the pipeline, our goal, certainly when we get into the youth side, is to do a one-to-many approach. So we can't possibly knock on the 50,000 doors that a sports engine in the US would have access to through their platform. So instead, we're looking to work with these kind of entities that allow us to get our message to all of the amateur and the golf courses across Canada and the US. And then finally, you know, our revenue model, our business economics are based on the fact this is $35 per device per month. We produce signage, and we produce it at cost and it's a one-time cost that houses this device. And then we take a small transaction fee, which allows us to pay all the credit and debit card fees that you have to settle with the various banks. So we're now in a position that we can onboard new customers. We can provide them with all the tools that they need to get up and running and to go out and start fundraising or go out and start selling their product in a sporting event in a very short, couple weeks amount of time, from concept right through to devices in hand. So with that, a quick snapshot of who's in our current advisory board and some proposed folks that we're talking to now to join our advisory board. TipTop itself is just finalizing a round of funding right now, and our ask on the sports side is more around help us to get this message out, help us to get these use cases in place, help us to find ways to really maximize the revenue you can get from these devices. Once again, I'm Chris Gardner from TipTop Sports. Thank you very much. Do you want to run the video?
Yeah, give it a shot.
Sure. If it's on mute, I can still answer any questions that anyone has as we go. Phone's right there. It's okay. What are you gonna do? Question in the back?
How do you share or will you share data with charities? You might want to move the donor up to donor funnel or maybe make your difference, or it's just a one-time test?
Yeah, so we don't collect any donor information. We collect the credit and debit card information, and the only thing these days it's all cryptograms, so gobbledygook. But the last 4 digits of the credit card are visible, and that's to make sure that anyone can check and confirm if they needed to that the transaction went. That said, we do work with the charities who do want to be able to collect the information. So the same volunteer who's got the device around their neck or at their table, it optionally can collect that donor information and follow up and provide a tax receipt or do whatever they wanted to do. But it's a good point, because we often run in with big customers of ours, big partners. They want to go through a full KYC, and they want to know that there's no personally identifiable information being exchanged. So we're able to fly through that very quickly because we don't collect any. Those are the rules of Visa and MasterCard. Thanks. Any other questions?
Yeah, I was curious, how are community organizations finding out about you now?
Yeah, so it started out, we were proactively targeting the community organizations. We have some pretty big customers outside of sports. If you go into any major Tim Hortons location, you'll see the Children's Camp is collecting donations right there. Salvation Army, Legion, this year you get your poppy, it's going to be from a tap on our device. So we're now at a point in the outside of sports where it's becoming viral. Organizations are hearing or seeing us, and they're able to come and find us and get the devices they need. On the sports, we're not quite there yet. We're a couple years behind in terms of our evolution on sports. So we've been proactively talking to some large organizations with notable brand names, and our goal is to have those case studies that will give the amateur associations the trust level that they can reach out to us and they can place the order. Video didn't work? That's all right.
Thanks so much, Chris. Now to introduce our final startup, I want to welcome Bryce Tully of InnerLogic, intuitive software that helps sports organizations measure the state of their culture at all levels, ensuring sport environments are not only safe and supportive, but also high-performing and aligned. Bryce?
Thank you very much. Hopefully this is a classic last but not least scenario. And because I'm last, Sherry said to me in writing that I can go as long as I want. So yeah, I'm the CEO and co-founder of InnerLogic, and for the past 10 years, I've worked as a performance psychology lead for the Canadian Olympic team. And the only reason I share that information is because I've had sort of the privilege and the honor of going to some really high stakes environments and events and watching teams and organizations have to show up and perform on demand under pressure with incredible things on the line. And by perform on demand, I also mean stay together and have a culture that is able to tolerate that situation. And I think intuitively, you know, in this room, we probably all look at culture as a 1 + 1 = 3 scenario. But unfortunately, in reality, that's not always the case. It's very complex, these environments, and we're learning more and more how complex it is. In some cases, it's actually a 1 + 1 = about -1 billion from a dollar amount, which is a fascinating play on that analogy. So you don't have to do much more than a simple Google search to see some of the headlines that I'm popping up on the screen right now. And again, I share this more from the standpoint of I've actually been in the room. I've been in the situation where, you know, these things are starting to transpire, and that's really what compelled me to create this business and to provide a solution that's actually proactive and preventative to these culture problems that are occurring all over the place in sport, essentially across all disciplines and domains of sport, from NCAA to amateur sport in Canada to professional sport. There's examples of all of those on the screen. There is a big culture problem, and InnerLogic is not in the business of coming to the table once they're at this stage. InnerLogic is in the business of actually making sure that these headlines don't ever show up at all by providing a proactive solution, empowering organizations to intervene at a time when, you know, a potentially multi-million-dollar toothache is just a little 3 out of 10 tinge that you can start to intervene and create a solution for because you have that proactive intervention in place. Now, the more obvious, exciting, and optimistic opportunity here is obviously enhanced performance. You know, if you look at any best-selling shelf, you're going to see a whole bunch of books that are related to how the Cubs won and how the Patriots did it for so long. And so, you know, obviously the All Blacks have made millions off of culture stuff. And so, you know, this is a scenario where there's really this big spectrum of sort of people-oriented factors and performance-oriented factors all in the same space. And so it gets a little bit complex. But, you know, research shows that from a performance standpoint, Culture accounts for up to about 47% of performance variability in team-based organizations, and all sport organizations are team-based organizations, which is makes things really simple and really complex at the same time. So what fascinates us at Interlogic is sort of this question like, can we quantify, can we predict these outcomes? Can we use culture as a data point? And can we start to help organizations understand what would happen if they optimize something like trust? Can we help them understand their trust profile, their safety profile, their accountability profile, and many, many other culture variables and factors that are in our system? And we don't only want to help them understand something like trust vertically and horizontally across the various complexities in there, but we also want to help them predict outcomes. So we want to tell people this is where you're headed if this doesn't change. Obviously, to do this, you need some secret sauce. The secret sauce for us really boils down to three things. It's a combination of technology, methodology, and data science. If you can plug these three things together and create a system that is seamless, it's something that is not invasive to athletes, to staff, to front office, you can attach that technology to a methodology that's extremely sound and evidence-based, and you can apply data science that produces those machine learning algorithms to give those prediction outcomes. You get what we call transformational insights, and transformational insights are exactly as they sound. They're insights that lead to real transformation. No one's going to care about a culture platform that doesn't lead to real change. So when we partner with clients, we say, look, we're not in the business of data, and we're not in the business of giving you a whole bunch of data that's useless and that's going to overwhelm you. We're in the business of your data changing from point A to point B. And that's the only way that the business is going to be sustainable. So we have to apply the secret sauce very carefully. Now, obviously, the platform has to be, look cool and be very functional. But most importantly, it has to be accessible to the right people. Like, leaders create change, and leaders empower, and organizations want this information for a good reason. So we have to create a whole bunch of technical solutions that kind of turn culture not only into something tangible, but to something inviting. Because if you mention the word culture to most people in sport or in business, it's taken very personally. One thing we learned is if you refer to it as an environmental scan, they go, yeah, sure, scan the environment. You refer to it as culture, and they're like, oh, that's mine. What are you going to find out? And so, we understand that culture is very distinct. It's very unique. You can't copy and paste culture. So we have to work very closely with people to give them exactly what represents them. I want to give you some examples of the depth of insight that we can provide using our system, and these are real examples that we've shared with groups that we work with, which I'll show you at the end. More introverted individuals scoring 40% lower on trust and 25% lower on autonomy. I share this because if you're going to roll out some expensive culture solution that's for the masses, it's a motivational talk, and you're not targeting something real that's actually affecting the performance in your organization, then you're wasting a whole bunch of money. Black females are scoring 30% lower on inclusion in both athlete and support staff roles. Culture is incredibly complex, and in this case here, we've showed cognitive diversity and ethnic diversity, and both have an effect on the way that people are working together and performing. There are 3 safety flags within women's soccer pertaining to maltreatment. This is a really serious thing that needs to be acted on right away before it turns into one of those headlines. Value alignment is significantly lower among first and second year athletes. Why is it taking our athletes so long in this environment to align with the values of this culture? How come 5th years are all bought in and still at second year they're scoring very low in this factor? This is something that can fundamentally change the way you onboard people in your environment. Lastly, your program is above the 80th percentile of consensus for 3 factors: vision, identity, and adaptability. This benchmarking aspect is really important because when you run a beep test, they don't go, well, the only data we have is from the last time you did this. That's all we've got. No, they go, here's what is important across various contexts and various sports. Thousands of athletes have done this. Here's where you fit. If we can't benchmark things, it's not going to matter. You have to put things in context for people. So I know the goal here isn't to boil the ocean, so I want to kind of put this into some real perspective. This is basically the 4 P's of our value proposition. It's protect human beings. That's the first most important thing inside of any environment. every single environment has the capacity to do harm if not managed properly. Protecting human beings, preventing expensive headlines. If you don't protect, you're really not going to prevent, so it goes from the individual unit of analysis down to the group. Predict critical outcomes, which I mentioned before, so that we can start to be more intentional with the real impetus for why we want to improve in this culture area. And ultimately, you want to produce legendary performances and just legacies as a whole. Like if you simply look at the NCAA landscape in terms of why alumni engage after they've left, it's because of the positive experience they had while they were there. So if you don't have a really positive experience in that culture, you're losing millions of dollars down the line because you have no connection to that space. You actually see it as a trigger. How was your time at Penn State? Well, I was abused. Are you giving them money? Are you giving that program? Maybe if it's to make the change, but it's certainly not if it's still in the same state that it was in there. So we want to turn culture into a KPI. It is a KPI. If I ask the room, is culture a key performance indicator? Most people will go, yeah, absolutely. If culture sucks, we're not going to perform. But it's actually not a KPI on paper right now. So that's the mission that we're on. Everyone's done this, so you guys, this is the 8th time that you've seen a bunch of logos on a screen. So who cares? We work with a bunch of people, and it's a lot of fun, and we're really excited. Our partners probably hate that I said it that way. However, I do share this for a purpose. We're at a stage of, we think we're in a really exciting stage of product solution fit. So we want to apply that product to a whole bunch of other scenarios where it can make a real difference. Not that this is a fully altruistic business, but it does make a really important difference on a human level when you get culture right. And we don't just work in sport. We have, on the corporate side, we have some large clients that we work with now and some upcoming that we're really excited about. We can make sense of complex environments, and we want to find more of those environments to do that in. So that's really our ask here today. So thank you very much for your time.
Great presentation. Who are you competing against right now in the space, and why are you limiting it to sports?
So in the sports space, there's a couple small competitors who produce very static reports. We haven't run into them yet in a real competition situation. But in NCAA, there's a system called the Real Response System, which is a genuine competitor and a current roadblock. It's basically like a really well done whistleblower setup. And so I say that because obviously I'm biased towards it's too late at that point. But we need to find a way to get this high performance environment in the States to understand the power of proactivity and sort of embrace what we're trying to create as a new norm of culture measurement versus, you know what, if you've got a problem, go over there and I better not hear about it kind of thing. And it is a big shift, yeah. And sorry, part 2 was why just sport? Definitely don't want to stay in just sport. I think we have the transfer from sport to business is really strong. People go, whoa, you went to the Olympics and you've seen this, and we want our culture to be like that because it's so linear and accountable. The transfer from business to sport is lower. So we are on a mission to kind of establish our credo and pull it over into the corporate space and do a really good job of that. It's just, it's a little slower moving because we're very focused in sport at the present time. It's ongoing. Yeah, so most of our, on the corporate side, it's a quarterly exercise. Most in athletic departments, every team has a custom schedule, but they do it generally a minimum of 3 times a season. This is a big moving rock. This isn't like your daily mood. This is a big perception on a big cultural concept, so we need to leave enough space for them to make real change in between. Yeah.
As an athlete, how do I make sure that they're not lying when they answer your question?
The makes me think it's a really good question. Double down. Okay, so as an athlete, sorry, I want to make sure I get it right. You want to make sure that
them
yeah.
honestly.
Right.
I'm a runner, I'm gonna pick on a glove. How do we know?
Yeah, on the screen.
Yeah, and those are all of my friends in there.
Sure.
How do we know that Dave Scott Thomas doesn't happen again?
Yeah, so getting really good data is a huge challenge. It's a challenge that we've embraced for a year and a half now. Your data is never tied to your identity in any way. It's all in aggregation. We have what's called the rule of 3, but it can be the rule of 5, the rule of 10, where if you filter the data by anything, you could say, I want to look at inclusion by this specific demographic inside of this environment. If there's less than 5 data points, it will not show it to you, because we don't want you to reverse engineer and say, I think that's that person. So the onboarding steps to ensure that that's the case are really specific. We also have explicit consent versus implicit. So you have to say, I understand with a click that this is never tied to who I am, and that doesn't matter. This is a place to just be fully honest, and it will never come back to you. But we give presentations and stuff with the groups we work with to help them understand the privacy policies inside of the software to make sure that's true. Yeah.
But as an athletic director, that was, let's just hypothetically say,
Yeah.
you're going to give a biased answer so that your result that comes out of your software or your assessment says what the university wants to see and maybe not what's going on.
You know what? If that happens, everything's culture. This is the thing. If that happens, you're going to end up with a very, very low vertical alignment score. Meaning, all the people in positions of power think everything's fine. All the people who are underneath that power think it's atrocious. That's the first gap that we would say, you have to close that gap. That perception is hurting you in so many ways, and it's not, obviously it's not healthy. Yeah.
My point is a layer on top. When I was talking to Bryce earlier, in our smaller org, it happens to be a sport org, but I think this is applicable across all. We use an HR platform called QME, it's a Canadian company, to connect this to your HR platform, which our employees already trust, and it's part of their everyday usage. Means you connect together other data points anonymously, not necessarily names next to them, and draw parallels to exactly what you're saying. If the executives in the organization, which you know who they are because of what they earn, are answering in a certain way and others are answering in a certain way, you will naturally find gaps. And so my point was for you to make the point you made to me, which is you have API integrations into other platforms that are already naturally a part of your HR function in your organization, whether you're sport or otherwise, and I thought that was a very powerful attribute.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to open the, the thing, but there would be a dashboard that would say trust among C-suite, trust perceptions among C-suite, trust perceptions among middle managers, trust perceptions among. So you can literally look at the data, in most cases, 25 different ways across various different dashboards. The biggest challenge for us is actually providing those insights in a way that's transformational, so people aren't drinking from a fire hose when they open their dashboard going, this is nuts. What am I supposed to do with all of this? We need to give them the top 3 and say, move the needle here, because it's the most impactful. Am I done? Sorry.
You have one more.
Yeah.
It strikes me that you get rich like crazy as a cleanup squad because there are many NSOs right now that are in so much trouble trying to fix their culture publicly, get their culture perceived to be better, having all the universities that are struggling with different programs. How can you prevent yourself from being a cleanup squad of problems as a company and not just be called in to clean up the mess, to change the perception so the school or the organization or the team can get out from under bad press and get where you want to be, which is called in advance to make sure it's good? Like, how do you figure that out?
So full transparency, when all this started happening, our biggest sport client came on board. Not a surprise. Own the podium. They said, look, we have 80 some NSOs, and we need to put a proactive solution in place right away. And we did have a moment in our company where we were like, is this a good idea? The revenue's essential, but at the same time, like, what are these partnerships perceived as outwardly? But ultimately, we are not a cleanup crew. We are, we always have to position ourselves as proactive. So we want to be working with people who value culture from the onset. Typically, when those problems exist, you need a very high-touch consulting element to solving that problem, and that's actually not what we do. So when people say, come and fix this culture problem, it's going to be 100 consulting hours. We can't scale that. We're not trying to scale wide. We're trying to scale up. So we want to work with groups who are going, I don't want to be that group. I don't want to be the Blackhawks how long from now. So let's get started. Those are our partners. We have not actually worked yet, other than On the Podium, who wants to put something proactive in place. We don't work with any groups that are in cleanup mode presently.
You would turn down business if somebody said, what you're doing is fascinating, and I've got a coach-athlete situation in my sport organization. Can you help us truly fix it? Like, not just put a Band-Aid on it.
We can help you diagnose it. Yeah, we can help you diagnose it, for sure. That would be my answer. Let's talk.
You're not turning down.
I might, you never know.
I'm just going to say one thing. As we transition, this would be perhaps something really good for you to profile on CBC Sports.
But
there you go.
Most of the news is being made by the company or the organizations that need help to clean up.
From happening again.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I get that. It does. I'm just wondering how you don't become a company that's drawn towards the other.
Thank you, Brian.
Wow, that was a big finish. Yeah, thank you to Bryce. Thank you to all of the creative minds that were here today with their pitches. Success for all of you in your businesses. Just a couple of things before we finish off the afternoon. First, want to introduce Hamza Tarani. He is the Chief Technology and Digital Officer from Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. Hamza, over to you.
I think I probably stand between you and drinks or food or something, so I'm going to be super quick. That was a great debate at the end. I feel like it needs more room. I wanted to thank everybody. I head up technology and digital for Maple Leaf Sports. I see a lot of friends in the room on the advisory group, people that have put this program together since its inception. Sherry, how many years ago now? 2018. Yeah, and I can tell you we're lucky at Maple Leaf Sports to be able to partner with DMZ and TMU to be able to put on programs like this. We're really fortunate to work across all leagues at MLSE. We get to see what's happening in hockey and soccer and basketball in pretty much all of the different leagues that we operate in, plus live music and entertainment. And one thing that's been something that I've looked at coming back from COVID and finally being able to be in a room like this is how much disruption there's been in our industries. I like the previous debate of why couldn't you take something in sports and use it in general business, and I think the worlds of sport, from a competition perspective, from a business perspective, and the general ecosystem around innovation has changed, and it's all kind of gone like this. Everybody's trying to figure it out. Everybody's trying to figure out what to do, and it's ideas and these kinds of conversation that foster us to be able to break down these silos that exist within organizations, whether it's sport or not sport, and then finally actually get down in the detail and being able to pilot things and figure things out. So that's sort of been in our DNA back from in 2018, from when we started this, and I think it's just gotten better and better and better as we've learned a lot, and clearly, to have a full stack of Canadian companies is, I think, is a proud moment for all of us. Finally, I would say, we've had, I think, 30 meetings that have been set up across Maple Leaf Sports, everybody from front office to our business groups to be able to provide insight. And the goal of this was always to bust down doors, because it was very difficult if you were an entrepreneur in Toronto or North America or anywhere in the world, and you wanted to get in front of the Raptors, or you wanted to get in front of MLSE, or TFC. Devin back there works in the analytics group in TFC and has kind of built a lot of the functions. Good luck getting in front of a person like that. I mean, he's in the room today. And that's just one example out of many that we thought this would be a little bit different from that perspective. We're really excited. I think we've got one pilot in place right now, and we're looking at 4 to 5 others to look at how do we solve problems. We have one of the largest tech and digital groups in pro sport in the world at MLSE Digital Labs inside MLSE. Credit to our ownership, the rest of our executive team for being able to build these things and drive our sizable business. But we don't have all the answers, right? And these are the kinds of conversations where something just tweaks, like in this last presentation, and it just gives you another angle, gives you another element of competition, to be able to react. And I think as Canadians looking to continually go up the innovation scale globally, these are important moments. These are important groups. And the work and the advice you're giving or the ideas that you're pitching are important not only to your industries, but to our country in a lot of ways. So lastly, I just want to thank TMU. I want to thank DMZ, Sherry, Brian Cooper, the chair, along with the rest of the folks that actually put this thing on. It's incredible. We're proud to be part of it. It's a big part of our DNA, and just excited for the process to continue to unfold. So thank you very much.
Last but not least, the woman who clearly needs no introduction in this room because everyone knows her and loves her, but I will introduce her anyway, Dr. Sherry Bradish, the Founding Manager Director of Future Sport Lab. Hey, Sherry.
Really quick and do a few thank yous, Chris. First to you, Brian and I adore working with you. Your name always comes to the top of our list, so we so appreciate you being here. To Brian, on behalf of the whole team, you keep us in line and on track, so we appreciate that. I want to thank the team at TMU and the DMZ and Abdullah so well, thank them all. This year, just for reference, we entered into a relationship with the DMZ as a partner. If you don't know and you haven't been there, see Nav and his team. Nav is our day-to-day point person. The DMZ is ranked as the #1 university business incubator in the world. And so, as they mentioned, they have locations across the world. So it's a resource that we're just tapping into. But Abdullah has been fantastic to open the doors and continue partnerships for our startups here and moving forward. Ted Rogers MBA students, we're particularly proud to be able to integrate them into our program. And I think Hamza, to date, 8 students who've been part of the FSL Accelerator program, including Greg, who's at Deloitte and a former Olympian, is always an Olympian, have been part of the program. So we're happy that we've been able to do that pipeline program. At MLC, of course, Hamza, Sumit, Connor, Tyler, who reminded me that I have taught longer than he has been alive, so thank you very much. Connor, thank you for coming back for your honeymoon to be at Pitch Day. We also appreciate it. And to the 8 startups, thank you so much. We're missing one today. Our female founders are also full-time employees and full-time students. So they have been struggling with travel a little bit. So in our sizzle reel that Greg's responsible for pushing out, we'll make sure you see a little bit about them. We know virtual wasn't ideal, but we want to thank you so much for your time and your patience. And a credit, you may not know specifically where all the startups are from, but we're so happy it was an all-Canadian contingent. It really was the best of the best. We haven't had that before. We have 2 startups, Interlogic, and the program from Halifax. And I want to say that because obviously you can imagine what they had to do to get here today. So thank you to you 2 in particular for getting through Storm Fiona and being here, and good luck as you head back. So we really appreciate that. Greg, special thanks to you. We're looking for all the follow-up and the Marcom and social, so thanks so much. Ryerson does this and TMU does this. Sorry, I knew I'd be the one that did that, but I still say some days I teach at Brock, so what do? Because we want to think big at sports, so we really do appreciate MLSE and everyone that's here today. We, in this cohort, because we're virtual, gave each startup 4 industry mentors. And so we have logged, MLSE has gone above and beyond, and Connor's been so good to document it for us. Over 200 hours of mentoring from the community and the network, so we so appreciate that. We'd be invaluable without it, and I think it makes us very strong. And then a special thank you to Katie Cheeseborough, who is our lab and ops manager, who on August 31st had her 3rd baby, so the fact that she's also here is a special shout out. So thank you to everyone for being here. We're going to go back to the demo area so everyone has a little bit of a chance to meet and spend time with the startups now that you've seen them. So thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.